welcome everybody to episode five of my podcast. It's a Sunday morning here in Perth, Western Australia. And today I thought that I would talk to you a little bit about gratitude. But before I do that, I thought maybe it would be worth just explaining a little bit about the title of my podcast, because I appreciate the fact that not everybody is going to immediately recognize that it is a reference to a song. It's actually a reference to a Rage Against the Machine song. This was a song from their first album. The song is called Bombtrack. It's an awesome track. If you've never heard it, play it. And the lyric is, but I learned to burn that bridge and delete to those who compete at a level that's obsolete. So I just thought that it was kind of a cute name for my podcast. Not maybe cute's the wrong word. Because that is something that I really have learned over the years, is to not worry about people who are doing similar things, or people who are, I guess, naysaying the things that I'm doing, because often, what they're doing is actually complementary, first of all, or possibly in complete opposition. And something that I learned a long time ago is that it's very hard to change people's minds. I don't even expect to ever be able to change someone's mind anymore. I really don't. The most that I hope for, certainly in my personal life, in my professional life, and moving forward in my career, as I begin to work in social services, is to get people to start living their life with a more open-minded and non-judgmental view on humanity, and just on life in general. I think that we all can benefit from seeing things that we normally are blinkered to. We all can benefit from switching off the legacy news and instead going online to the very few credible news sources that are out there, and looking at those instead if we're interested in what's going on in the world, and also just questioning our own built-in beliefs, because many of us were brought up with belief systems, some stronger than others, whether it's religious or political. It might be to do with your feelings about people of a different ethnicity or race. It might be to do with your feelings about people of a certain age or gender. I meet many people who are very stuck in what they call cultural belief patterns, and they seem to think that that's a good thing, and I wholeheartedly disagree. I think that if you're brought up to believe, for example, that women are terrible drivers, I think that's fine, but you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your children, you owe it to anybody that you're going to talk to about this subject, to actually go and fact check this for yourself. And you don't have to go to the scientific literature, you don't have to go to Google Scholar or whatever and try and find data about it necessarily. It's good enough just to open your eyes and pay attention. And confirmation bias, which I'll probably do a whole episode about cognitive biases, because they're cognitive biases, unfortunately, are a source of such problems for us if we want to grow as people, because they are very powerful. Our minds are very good at feeding us information that confirms what we already believe, and so I'll probably do a whole episode about cognitive biases at some point, but pardon me, sorry. Just in the mornings, I always have like hay fever. I don't know why. It usually clears up. So I can't even remember why I brought up cognitive biases, but it was just with regards to people living their life with their eyes open. I think, if I meet someone and they have strong views about something, and they can convince me that they have come up with that point of view independently based on their own research, props to you. I may have looked at the same research, I may have looked at different research and come to a different point of view, but but so long as somebody has actually taken the time to consider the alternative viewpoints, and so long as they have arrived at their own conclusions rather than just blindly following whatever it was that their parents suggested was to be the truth, or whatever it was that their culture suggested it was to be the truth. So long as they have taken the time to really think about it and gather some data on their own or via online, non-biased online literature, and they've come back to that same conclusion, or they've come to that conclusion, that's fine. That's fine, because you know what, we can never know anything for certain in this world. My opinions about things are just my opinions. I of course have faith in my own opinions, because I know how much work I've put into arriving at those conclusions. However, I also remain completely open to the possibility that I could be wrong. It is one of the greatest mistakes that anyone can make in life, to doggedly think that there is no chance that you can possibly be wrong, and in doing so to switch yourself off to any new information. This has been historically has been what has led, caused things like Auschwitz. It has been what led America to invade Iraq. Like I said, I don't want to get too political, but it's just very important. It's just very important that we don't just take the word of experts or leaders or our parents or our teachers or our pastors when they are talking about things that are especially things that are potentially controversial, and especially when they're talking about things that that maybe in your gut you think, oh, really? I'm not so sure about that. There's just nothing wrong with, if you feel that way about something that someone says, there's just nothing wrong with saying, hold up, wait a minute, like, I hear you, I'm interested, let me get back to you, I want to go and try and find out for myself. Nobody is incapable of doing their own research and coming to their own conclusions on things. And everybody should be doing it, especially if you are one of these people who likes to be outspoken and likes to, you know, soapbox about your opinions. Don't do it ignorantly. That's just ugly and awful, in my opinion. Anyway, so that's enough about that. Getting on to today's podcast topic, I thought that I would talk about gratitude, and specifically, I guess, about gratitude lists and how I feel like the whole concept of gratitude can be expanded to make it more powerful, more accessible to people, and also like just to give you my take on, I've done a lot of reading about gratitude. I've listened to a lot of people talk about gratitude. It's obviously like in the top 3 kind of things that, every mindfulness meditation, guru out there will tell you: meditate, gratitude, eat a vegan diet. Those are sort of 3 of the most common things that they'll tell you to do. I think that there's value in all 3 of those things. However, much like with meditation, gratitude can be a tricky thing to embrace, to get started with. And I did it for many years after originally hearing about it on Oprah. There she goes again. I used to watch a lot of TV. And Oprah was one of my favourites, I really did used to like her show. I really do still have great admiration for the woman. So I remember Oprah talking about gratitude and how she had started doing a gratitude journal before she went to bed. And so I thought that I would start doing this myself. And for years and years, I, would write down 3 things that I was grateful for before I went to sleep. And over the years, I've kind of realized that I was doing sort of like it was like gratitude 101, if you like, just saying, I'm grateful for my parents, I'm grateful for nature, I'm grateful for coffee. That's not really the point. You're not really getting out of the concept of gratitude what you can get out of the concept and the practice of gratitude. You're not really getting the fulfillment and the growth and the change in mindset and and sort of positivity that you can get from practicing gratitude when you just are just reeling off 3 things you're grateful for and then shutting the book and going to bed. Or I do it in the morning now. I think most people that I speak to suggest doing it in the morning to start your day off, on a good foot, I guess, really. So my take on the whole gratitude thing these days is, first of all, don't just, you can be grateful for 1 thing, you can be grateful for 5, it doesn't matter. But try to dig a little bit deeper than just the thing that you're grateful for and end of story. So, and what you can do, and I have this going with a few of my friends, where we actually send each other our gratitude lists every day. And just as an example, I'll read out to you what I wrote yesterday to my friends. I am grateful for my own resilience, for my support system, for my friends, present and future. I'm grateful for my struggles as a child to understand the world, and for not having had to overcome a belief system that was so ingrained in me that I was able to figure out my relationship with everything else in this ecological niche in which I exist. essentially I was saying that I'm grateful to have been born into a secular home. I'm grateful for being able to choose something different to what society and my parents expected of me. Finally, I didn't for a long time. And for now having the tenacity to follow through with that, in spite of it making me a black sheep. I'm grateful for being a black sheep. I'm grateful for my ability to see the world through non-judgmental eyes or with preconceived biases. I'm grateful for the self-awareness I have and knowing that this is expanding every day. I'm grateful for nature. The birds, insects, frogs, and mammals, they never cease to amaze and delight me. And of course for trees, flowers, shrubs, even if some of them give me hay fever. I'm grateful to be a strong, independent woman who knows what she wants and finally has boundaries. And I'll do an episode about boundaries at some point, but you know, well, again, that's another, like, you know, it's a very well covered topic. It took me a long time. And it will always be a work in progress, you know. And I'm grateful for my intuition. It was always there. I just didn't always used to listen to it. So that was my gratitude list from yesterday. And that just gives you an idea of like where I'm at with my gratitude lists. I mean, I still feel like I could dig deeper. I still feel like I still feel like there's more that I could, there's more awareness and there's more depth that I could explore with my gratitude lists. However, that's obviously a big step up from just I'm grateful for coffee, I'm grateful for my parents, and I'm grateful for, the sky or whatever. So that's my advice about gratitude lists. You can certainly do them in the evening if you would like. Like I said, I suggest doing them in the morning because it does help to set your day off on a positive spin. And look, sometimes I'll do 2 or 3 a day because sometimes I'll do my gratitude list in the morning and then I have this sort of cyclic thing during the day, and it's probably related to the shifting of the sun or something where, around about 4 p.m. I often get very grumpy. And so sometimes I'll do a second gratitude list at around about that time. To try and sort of pull myself out of my feelings of FML, blah, blah, blah. But in the morning, most of my friends, and most of my counsellors seem to agree that in the morning is the time to do it. But if it works better for you to do it in the evenings, by all means. And if you are just still, skirting at the top, at the sort of surface level of the gratitude list thing, just work your way up slowly. You don't have to write an essay every single day. It's probably better to focus on one thing that you're grateful for and write about that in depth than to try and cover 3 or 4 things that you're grateful for. That might be a good way to start, developing your practice of gratitude into something that's a bit more substantive than what you're currently doing, if assuming that you're like I was for many years. And it's okay, and you can mix it up. Like, you can certainly be grateful for the same thing multiple days in a row. Like, there will be weeks where I'm just so grateful for the same person because that one person is just helping to pull me through something horrible that's going on with me. And, but every day I will talk about, specifically how she stood up for me, how she was there for me, how she listened to me, piss and moan on the phone, or how she listened to me wail and cry. Or how she, how she put a positive spin on something bad that had happened to me, or if I call her and tell her good news, like how she's, how she was genuinely so excited for me and so happy for me, not just this sort of this like, oh yeah, that's great, but like, you know, but genuinely like, oh wow, that's so awesome, hun, like you're so worthy, you're so worth it, you deserve it, you know, like that's how you tell a really good friend, I think, you know. So, and then the other thing I wanted to sort of expand, I guess, and it does have to do with gratitude in a way, but it's sort of separate. And this is like actually something that a little trick or a little tip or, I don't know, some practice that I developed probably about 5 years ago now. And I've found that it really helps me a lot. And listening to Alan Watts, who I linked to in my last video, he was the one who kind of inspired me to do this. And it's all about beauty. It's all about finding beauty in our world. Because, you know, often we find ourselves in places where we look around and things just look, you know, I mean, I look around my house at the moment and I just think, mess, it's a mess. There's a mess everywhere. I need to clean up, blah, 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 blah. You know, like, you know, stopping to smell the flowers or the roses, I think, as Shakespeare said, you know, is a really important thing to do when, you know, if you want to foster a life of positivity and a life that is of fulfillment and also, you know, one in which we don't take for granted the things that we have and the places that we have, you know. So about 5 years ago, I decided that every single day I was going to try to find something beautiful in a place that was ordinarily unexpectedly beautiful. So, you know, and then I would take a photo of it on my mobile phone. And then I wish I could share those photos with you, but unfortunately I lost my Google account, which had like a lifetime of digital photos on it, and I'm so devastated that I've lost it. But never mind, they're just photos. So these days, you know, I still usually take a photo, not always, but, and you don't have to take a photo. It could be anywhere. You could be just walking down your street. You could be in your house. You could be in your local park. You know, you could be somewhere really unexpected, like, I don't know, queuing up at the supermarket to check your groceries out, you know, and, you know, and there's that cheeky little kid, like, that's with its mother, like, that's, you know, one of the checkouts that you're waiting to get to, who's like grinning its ears off, and, you know, and you know, you start playing the hide and seek game with it, you know, like that sort of thing, you know, those moments that we can have in our life if we choose to and if we foster them, really help to frame our lives in a way that means that we are more open to the world, more positive about the world, you know, that we are more tolerant, that we are just generally less snowed under with the rigmarole of day-to-day existence, you know. And this comes back to mindfulness to a certain extent as well. You know, it's about being, and it's about enjoying being wherever you are, whatever the circumstances. And you would be amazed, like 5 years ago, you know, I was coming off being homeless. You know, I had actually found accommodation at that point, but I was going through this sort of post-traumatic stress thing where I almost didn't feel like I was worthy of having a place to live. I mean, I was just renting a room in a share house, but you know, I actually, I almost didn't feel worthy of it, and so there were times when I would go and I would get in my car and I would go and sleep in my car, just because there was a certain like, I had certain memories associated with doing that, of being cozy and warm and complete, which was complicated to really explain why I felt like that was something that I wanted to do. But I've spoken to other women who have been through similar situations and they have relayed similar stories, and I think that this is not at all uncommon. So I think just practicing that sort of type of mindfulness where we just accept the place where we're at, we look around, we listen, take it all in, like use all of your senses. Like I can hear one of the neighbours' dogs barking at the moment. Now, sometimes that drives me mad and I say all sorts of profanities about that dog. But it's the sound of life. It's the sound of, and if I was face to face with that dog, I would be petting it. I would be, down playing with it, and that dog's just barking probably because its owner's has left it out while they've gone off to get their morning coffee or something, and it's not really an ear sore. I mean, for crying out loud, I can barely hear it. You guys can't even hear it. There's no reason to let it bother me. It's just the sound. It's just the sound of life. Life produces many, many sounds. There's nothing quite like traveling to somewhere. And in Western Australia, we're very fortunate because there's lots of places that we can travel to where we can experience this. Unfortunately, most of them involve driving at least sort of 4 to 5 hours, but where you can go and there's no light pollution, number one, so you can see all the stars, which is incredible. But number two, it's just dead silent. It's just dead silent, and that is so beautiful. There's such a beauty in silence, and really I feel like that experiencing that, that absolute silence can be such something so profound for us, but the converse of that is that life in the city, if you live in the city where I do, and I live quite close to the city, and that's just as beautiful. We just have to shift our framework, for thinking. So rather than hearing some dog barking non-stop, I just have to hear that as being just another sound of urban living. No different to the sound that I hear when my neighbour upstairs is moving his furniture or whatever it is he does up there. I don't know, salsa dancing possibly, I'm not sure. I haven't been game to ask. Or the sound of my computer buzzing, which I can hear faintly, or my air conditioner running. Which is not at the moment, but it has been non-stop for the last couple of days because it's been really hot. Same thing with smells, same thing with tastes when you're eating food or drink. Just really stopping to appreciate something that you enjoy. And if it's something that you don't enjoy, like the dog barking, for example, challenge yourself to find a way to reframe that initial irritation into feeling positive, or at the very least neutral about it, you know. Because it's going to free you from a whole lot of, you know, just bad feelings of grumpiness and irritation, and you know, it's going to stop you from the next time you see that particular neighbour from, you know, from saying something stupid that you probably shouldn't say to them about, you know, keeping their bloody dog locked up or whatever, you know, like, it's a dog. You know, it's a dog. Dogs bark. That's what they do. That's what they do. That dog is barking, and it has every right to bark. You know, if its barking is interfering with my sound space, well, you know, that's really not the end of the world. I can put music on, you know, I can go out. I can, you know, there's a million things that I can do about it, and I don't have to let it be a source of irritation. I don't have to feel irritated or annoyed about it. Yeah. So that's my take on beauty, and I would love to. I'm going to start an Instagram blog. I've already got two, but one of them is a vanity plates blog. I've had a fascination with vanity plates, or personalised license plates, as we call them here in Australia, for as long as I can remember. And so this is my second Instagram, because once again I was locked out of my old one Instagram account, so I had to get a new one. Yeah, Perth Vanity Plates, where I post pictures of people's personalised license plates with my take on what it means, or sometimes I'm in the fortunate position I can speak to the owner and find out what it means. Sometimes I'm taking the piss a little bit, because sometimes they're pretty dumb, you know, and sometimes I'm like, gee, wow, that's just a really cool license plate. Like, I just really like that one, you know, like, it's kind of dumb, but it's a personal project of mine that I've had for years, like I said, although, it kind of got interrupted and restarted this year. And then I also have an Instagram for my work, and an accompanying podcast for my work as well, which I might link in the description. Like, probably not of that much interest for you guys, but my managing director and I, you know, so essentially I work for a startup, and we are looking at product creation, innovation. We're looking at taking new products to market, and so we've started a podcast about that. But anyway, getting back to Instagram, I'll probably start an Instagram account, you know, that I'll relate to this particular channel. And I might start posting some of the photos that I take of, you know, of things that I see, where I've, you know, beautiful things that I encounter in my day-to-day wanderings, you know, and why I think they're beautiful. Not everybody agrees, you know. I remember years ago, like, taking a photo of some trash, like, literally, like, it wasn't like rotting, it wasn't like fruit and vegetable waste or anything, like, but it was rusty old, I can't even remember, you know, some rusty old items that had just all been collected together in this one spot, and I was stopping to take a photo of it, and my boyfriend at the time was like, "What are you taking a photograph of?" And I was like, "Look how beautiful it is." And he was just like, "You're just a freak. You're just cooked." You know, like, he was very mean in general. But you know, by the same account, they do say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and when they say a lot of things, let's face it, they say all sorts of things that you absolutely should second guess. I do think that there is truth behind that particular cliche. I think that it would be a terrible world if we all had the same taste. I think that if I liked the same music as everybody else, the same movies as everybody else, I think that the world would just be, that would be awful. That would be awful if we all liked the same stuff, So, because variety really is, here's another one, variety really is the spice of life. And there's, I hope, always room for new ideas in creativity. I hope that there will always be room for new art. And I hope that there will always be enough people who are willing to consider the possibility that it might be something that they would like, that they will, at least go to visit it, go to see it, even if it's in an online gallery or, whatever it is, and then you can make a decision for yourself. Once you've actually seen it, then you can make a decision, but be open to these things. And my honest advice to people, who, and this is to everybody, men and women, is that if you at the moment don't spend any time in your life investing in looking at creative ventures, whether they're other people's or whether your own. And so, I mean, if you don't listen to music, if you don't read books, if you don't go to galleries, if you don't ever make it to the theatre or to the ballet, or or even, like I said, a couple of episodes now, if you don't even stop to watch the busker in the mall, and down in the Hay Street Mall, you should start doing that. Like, it doesn't take very long. It won't take very long out of your life. Okay, yeah, going to the theatre, that's expensive. Music, you can listen to for free on YouTube Music. It's not a problem. If you don't have any idea where to start, I have a few YouTube. I don't want people to think I'm creating like some cult around my personal taste, but I have a couple of YouTube playlists. These are, the arts in general have been an enormous saviour for so many people, and such a great creative outlet for so many people. So I think that to stop and appreciate, or not appreciate for that matter, other people's art is a really valuable thing to do. Because every time that you look at something and you say, no, I don't like it, and then so long as you are then explaining why you don't like it or what it is about it you don't like, and you don't always know, like you can't always quantify what it is that you don't like about a painting. I mean, many years ago, I went to Vatican City, and saw the roof of the Sistine Chapel. And look, I've never been a huge fan of that whole Renaissance style of art. I mean, I think that that's an extraordinary feat of artwork. Like, I mean, how on earth? I mean, it blows my mind that was done. But not really my favorite. Like, I don't really see the enormous appeal in it. Not when I compare it to artists that I really revere, like the greatest works of like Whitley or Salvador Dali, or I guess I'm more into like modern, more postmodern art, like Jean-Michel Basquiat. Those are the artists that I guess I sort of gravitate towards the Renaissance artists. I mean, I think it's technically very good, but it doesn't really sort of float my boat, if you get my drift. However, like I said, it's an extraordinary feat just to have painted it, and I can see the talent. I can see the time, energy, effort. He must have got such a sore neck. Maybe he had scaffolding. Did they even have scaffolding back then? I don't even know. Take some time. Go and look at some artwork. Every art gallery has a free section, and you can go and you can check out just the paintings that the galleries decided to purchase for free, and take the time to decide whether or not it's your taste or not. Take the time to to come to an informed kind of conclusion about it. I mean, it's one thing just to be like, no, I don't like it, and then sort of once you've really looked at it, decide what it is about it you don't like. But don't just go, ugh, boring, walk away, because by doing that, you're not giving yourself the opportunity to experience the magic that somebody else has created, and every time we write something off without consideration, we are robbing ourselves of an opportunity to see beauty in this world. And I just think, and this is where I'm going to wrap up, I think that if we all took more time to appreciate the beauty in this world, whether it is in our own homes, whether it is amongst our friends and children, whether it is in nature, whether it is in the city, on the street, wherever, the more time that we spend to appreciate the beauty, the more we will start to value what we have. And, and if we're ever going to solve the problem of ecological degradation, it has to start with people appreciating what we have, on a deeper level, and passing that on. And then just on a personal level, the more time, the more, every time you see something that makes you smile, I mean, every time a woman sees a butterfly, it makes you smile, right? Don't see them very often, unfortunately, anymore, not in Perth. But, you see it, or a ladybug, it makes you smile. Those are those moments of, just pure pleasure, that we often take for granted and often forget about too quickly. And that's okay. I'm not saying you should ruminate all day on the fact that you saw a ladybug earlier today, but take the time to be like, oh, such a beautiful little thing. How long is it since I last saw a ladybug? Show it to your children, show it to anyone who'll notice, and take a photo if you can. A bit hard to photograph ladybugs sometimes, and they do tend to fly away at inconvenient times, but okay, all right. Well, it is Sunday, so I hope everyone has a really good week. I will be working this week. As I said, I'm going to link the other podcast that I'm in with my managing director in the description, just in case anyone's interested in starting their own business. So, I mean, we are essentially like I said, we are a startup, and when I say we're a startup, we are just starting up. There are two of us. There are two of us, and we don't even have a product yet. We are innovating products. We're basically brainstorming. We're crowdsourcing product ideas. We've got a short list of about 40 product ideas, about 20 of which are mine, most of which are wound up on the unlikely pile. But and then we're going to narrow it down to 2 or 3, which we're going to put up as Kickstarter campaigns. So, but my managing director has run a business before. He has read many books about how to start a business. He's very knowledgeable, and what I bring to the podcast, aside from keeping him in check because he is a little bit conservative, and also he's a man, and we are mostly interested in marketing products for women with children. So I guess I bring that. Plus, we've been friends for 31 years, so he was just keen to have me on board rather than hiring some, fresh new meat. He was just glad to give me the opportunity, and I'm glad to have the opportunity. So look, it's not the most interesting podcast. This isn't the most interesting podcast. I think that no podcast when you first get started is particularly interesting necessarily. But I hope that this will develop and gain traction. And I already have a short list of podcasts, the next sort of 6 or 7 podcasts that I'm going to make. And I very much intend to have guests on my podcast. So I have a couple of Aboriginal elders that I would like to interview on my podcast if they are agreeable. I also have a couple of friends who have been through traumatic events and who've come out the other side, who I would like to interview to be on my podcast. So hopefully that's the sort of thing that that you guys think that you can benefit from seeing. So that's what's coming up, more or less. So do stay tuned. Please subscribe. I'm not going to be, littering your YouTube feed because, this is not a lot of content after all. And I'm not doing shorts or anything like that. I think they're horrible. You won't find me on TikTok. Well, I do actually have a TikTok account, but only because I had to follow my friend's daughter. I didn't have to, but, I wanted to, so... you won't find me on TikTok. Hopefully you'll find me on Instagram soon. I am on Facebook, but that's a private account. I don't want to open that one up to anybody and everybody. So tune in again in about a week, maybe a bit less, and we will talk about deciding what you want to do in life. All right. Adios, everyone. Pay my respects to the Whadjuk Noongar people, the traditional custodians of this land, and Aboriginal elders, past, present, and emerging. Thanks.